I overheard my wife tell 5 women that marriage was meaningless paper. What she didn't know, I'd already found the forged signatures, the hidden accounts, and evidence of 3 different men. She thought I was weak. She was about to learn what paper really costs. My name is Barrett Holt. I'm 44 years old, Regional Sales Director at Hartfield Solutions, a B2B logistics company. Good salary, solid career, the kind of job that let me provide well. Or so I thought. Paige and I met at a conference in Boston back in 2007. She was 23, working at a corporate training firm. I was 27, hungry to prove myself. She had this energy that made people lean in when she spoke. We married a year later. She eventually became a life coach and motivational speaker. Said she wanted to help women find their power, live authentically. I supported her completely. Paid for her certifications, her website, her marketing. Watched her build a following, speaking at women's empowerment events, hosting weekend retreats. But around year 14, things shifted. Weekend retreats became weekly girls' nights. Empowerment talks turned into complaints about marriage being outdated. She started using phrases like divine feminine energy and reclaiming my sovereignty. I figured it was part of her brand. I didn't realize she actually believed it. Thursday evening, I came home early from a client dinner. Paige was hosting one of her Sacred Sister circles in our living room. 5 women, wine glasses in hand, sitting on floor cushions in our Virginia home. I heard her voice as I hung my coat. Clear, confident. That tone she used for social media content. Girls' nights matter more than marriage, Paige said. Women laughed in agreement. I'm serious. Paper means nothing. A legal document doesn't own your soul. If your husband can't understand that your sisterhood is sacred, that's his limitation, not yours. I stood frozen, briefcase in hand. She continued, voice dropping to that conspiratorial tone. Mine still sulks when I go out. Acts like I need permission. But I'm done asking. I'm done pretending that a ring means I sign away my right to live fully. The contempt in her voice hit me like a fist. I set my briefcase down silently, walked back out, and sat in my car for 20 minutes, gripping the steering wheel. When I went back inside, the circle had ended. Paige was loading wine glasses into the dishwasher. Hey, babe, she said without looking up. Didn't hear you come in. How was dinner? I studied her face. Easy smile. Casual tone. Like she hadn't just told 5 women our marriage meant nothing. Fine, I said. Productive. She nodded, checking her phone. I'm exhausted. Think I'll head up early. I watched her walk upstairs. The woman I'd loved for 17 years had stopped seeing me as a partner. I'd become an obstacle. Paper that meant nothing. I poured a whiskey and sat at the kitchen table. My thumb hovered over my friend Richard's contact. Attorney in Baltimore, family law. We'd gone to college together. He'd warned me once that some of Paige's social media posts concerned him. I'd brushed it off. I didn't call him that night, but I opened a notes app and started typing. Dates, times, patterns, bank statements to review, questions needing answers. Because if I'd learned anything in sales, it was this. When someone shows you who they really are, believe them. And tonight, Paige had finally shown me the truth. Friday morning, I woke up at 5:30 like always. Paige was still asleep, or pretending to be. I went through my usual routine, shower, coffee, check emails. But this time, I added something new. I opened our joint bank account on my laptop. The first thing I noticed was a pattern. Every Thursday for the past 6 months, cash withdrawals. 300 here, 400 there. Always on a girl's night. I scrolled back further. The pattern went back 18 months. Over $40,000, withdrawn in cash. My stomach tightened. I pulled up our credit card statements. Charges I'd never questioned before suddenly looked different. King's Lounge, $200. Bella Vista Hotel, spa package, $800. Venmo transfers to names I didn't recognize. Sienna, Jade, Dakota. I took screenshots of everything. Backed them up to a private cloud account Paige didn't know existed. Then I did something I've been avoiding for months. I checked her location history on our shared family plan. She turned off location sharing 3 months ago. Said it made her feel controlled. I hadn't pushed back because I didn't want to be that husband. But her phone was still on our account, and the carrier kept backup data for billing disputes. I logged into the carrier portal. Her location history populated on the map. Thursday nights, she wasn't at the wine bar she mentioned. She was at addresses across Northern Virginia. Residential addresses. I copied them into a document. "You're up early," Paige said from the doorway. I hadn't heard her come downstairs. I closed the laptop casually. Client call with the West Coast team. Wanted a prep. She poured coffee, barely looking at me. "I've got a workshop all day in Arlington. Probably won't be home until late." "What kind of workshop?" I asked. "Sacred sexuality and divine feminine embodiment," she said, scrolling through her phone. "It's a closed container, very intimate work. No phones allowed." I nodded, watching her. She was wearing expensive athleisure, the kind that cost $200 for leggings. Her hair was done, makeup perfect. For a workshop where she'd be doing embodiment work. "Sounds intense," I said. "It is. Transformative." She grabbed her keys. "Don't wait up tonight. We're doing a closing ceremony that might run late." She kissed my cheek, perfunctory, already mentally gone. I heard her car pull out of the drivage. I waited 5 minutes, then called Richard. "Barrett," he answered. "Early for you." "Need your advice," I said. "Hypothetically, if someone wanted to protect assets before a divorce, what's the first step?" Silence on the other end. Then, "This isn't hypothetical, is it?" "No." "Does she know you're thinking about divorce?" "She doesn't know I know anything," I said. "Yet." Richard exhaled. "First thing, don't do anything obvious. Don't move money. Don't change passwords. Don't confront her. Document everything quietly. Bank statements, credit cards, any unusual expenses. If she's spending marital funds inappropriately, we need proof." "Already started," I said. "Good." "Second thing, get a private investigator. You need to know what she's actually doing, not what you think she's doing. Hard evidence, not suspicion. You have someone you trust." "Yeah, guy named Tom Bradshaw. Former cop. Very thorough, very discreet. I'll text you his number." "Third thing," I asked. "Start moving money, but carefully. Open an account in your name only, different bank. Start redirecting your paycheck there. Not all of it, just enough that you have funds she can't access. Do it gradually. If this goes nuclear, you need resources." I thought about the 40,000 in cash withdrawals. What if she's already been doing that? Then you document it and use it in court. Dissipation of marital assets. Judge won't like it. We talked for another 10 minutes. Richard gave me a checklist, names of forensic accountants, warnings about what not to do. When I hung up, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Not anger, not sadness. Clarity. I opened my laptop again and started building a timeline. Every girl's night. Every unexplained charge. Every lie she told me about where she was. The man I'd been yesterday would have felt guilty doing this. Would have convinced himself he was overreacting. But that man had heard his wife tell 5 women that their marriage was meaningless paper. And paper, I was learning, could cut both ways. Tom Bradshaw didn't look like a private investigator. He looked like someone's accountant, maybe a middle school teacher. Average height, thinning hair, glasses that kept sliding down his nose. But Richard swore he was the best. So Tuesday afternoon I met him at a coffee shop 40 minutes from my office. "Mr. Holt," he said, shaking my hand. Firm grip. Direct eye contact. Richard gave me the overview. "Let me be clear about what I do and don't do. I follow, I document, I photograph. I don't trespass. I don't hack. I don't do anything that'll get thrown out of court. We clear. Clear. Good. I need recent photos of your wife, her vehicle information, her regular schedule, and any locations you think are relevant." He pulled out a tablet. "And I need to know what you're hoping to find. That helps me know what to look for." I slid a folder across the table. Photos of Paige, her car details, screenshots of the addresses from her location history. I think she's having an affair. Maybe multiple. And I think she's been spending our money on it. Tom flipped through the documents, nodding occasionally. "These addresses, you recognize any of them?" "No. All residential. Different neighborhoods. Could be friends, could be something else." He made notes. "The cash withdrawals you mentioned, you have records?" I handed him printed bank statements, highlighted. His eyebrows went up. 43,000 over 18 months. That's not casual spending. "No, it's not." "Okay. I'll start Thursday night." "That's a regular girls' night, correct?" "Every Thursday for the past 2 years." "Perfect. I'll follow her from your house. Document everywhere she goes, everyone she meets. If she's careful, might take a few weeks to establish a pattern. If she's not." He shrugged. "Usually get what I need in 3 to 5 sessions." "How do I get the reports?" "Secure email. Encrypted. Photos, timestamps, locations, vehicle descriptions of anyone relevant. If you want video, that's extra, but usually photos are enough for what you need. We talked through logistics, his rates, communication protocols, what to do if Paige noticed she was being followed. Tom was thorough, professional, completely emotionless about the whole thing. To him, this was just another case. To me, it was my life disintegrating in real time. One question, Tom said as we wrapped up. You said maybe multiple affairs. What makes you think that? I told him about the video call with Jason, the names on the Venmo transfers, the way Paige talked about marriage like it was a prison sentence. Tom nodded slowly. Mr. Holt, in my experience, when someone stops caring about hiding it, they've either gotten very comfortable or they want to get caught. Either way, you'll know soon enough. Thursday night, Paige left at 7:30, dressed like she was going to a club instead of a girls' night. Tight dress, heels, full makeup. She kissed my cheek, told me not to wait up, and drove off. I sat in my home office, trying to focus on work emails, but my mind kept wandering. Where is she really going? Who was she meeting? How long had this been happening? My phone buzzed at 10:45. Email from Tom. Subject line, initial report. I opened it with shaking hands. 3 photos. Paige's car parked outside a townhouse in McLean. Paige walking to the door with a bottle of wine. And Paige kissing a man in the doorway. Not a friendly kiss. The kind of kiss that left no room for interpretation. The email text was brief. Subject arrived at residence at 8:17 p.m. Male identified as Jason Vance. Age 37. Divorced. Works in real estate development. Subject entered residence at 8:19 p.m. Vehicle still on site as of 10:40 p.m. Continuing surveillance. I stared at that photo for a long time. Jason. The name I'd heard her mention before, always casually, always in passing. A client, she'd said once. Someone from her networking group. My hands were steady as I saved the photos to my encrypted drive. Forwarded the email to Richard with a note. It's confirmed. His response came fast. Don't do anything tonight. We'll talk tomorrow. Stay calm. Stay calm. My wife of 17 years was in another man's house right now, doing God knows what, and I was supposed to stay calm. But I did. Because anger without strategy is just noise. And I learned a long time ago that the best revenge isn't served hot. It's served cold, calculated, and completely unexpected. Friday morning, I called in sick. First time in 3 years. My boss didn't question it, told me to rest up. I wasn't sick, but I wasn't lying either. Something inside me had broken overnight, and I needed time to figure out what came next. Richard met me for lunch at a quiet restaurant in Baltimore. He brought a legal pad and a serious expression. I reviewed the investigator's report. Richard said, sliding the pad toward me. This is enough for divorce proceedings. Adultery is still grounds in Virginia. But before we talk about that, we need to talk about your finances. What about them? Barrett, if she's been pulling out $43,000 in cash, where did it go? Is she funding this guy? Gambling? Drugs? We need to know because if it's gone, we can argue dissipation of marital assets. That money gets added back to her side of the ledger when we split things. I hadn't thought about it that way. How do I find out? Forensic accountant. I know someone, Diane Porter. She specializes in divorce cases, finding hidden money, tracking spending patterns. She's not cheap, but she's thorough. Set it up. Richard made a note. Second thing, your house. Is it in both names? Yeah, joint title. And the mortgage? Same. We refinanced 3 years ago when rates dropped. His expression darkened. Did you sign all the paperwork personally, or did she handle some of it? I thought back. She handled most of it. Said she'd take care of the details since she worked from home. I signed where she told me to sign. Barrett, I need you to pull the mortgage documents. All of them. Refinance paperwork, title docs, everything. Check the signatures. You think she forged something? I think women who pull 40 grand in cash and lie about affairs aren't usually honest about paperwork either. Just check. That afternoon, I went through her home office like I was conducting a raid. Found a mortgage file in the bottom drawer of Paige's desk, buried under old tax returns and expired warranties. I spread the refinance documents across the dining table. The application looked normal. Income, assets, employment history. Then I got to the loan amount. We'd owed $220,000 on the original mortgage. The refinance should have been roughly the same, maybe a bit less since we've been paying it down. But the new loan was for $350,000. I pulled out my calculator, hand shaking. Original loan, $220. New loan, $350. Difference, $130,000. Where the hell did $130,000 go? I grabbed my phone, called Richard immediately. She took out an extra $130,000 on the refinance, I said when he answered. Silence. Then, are you certain? I'm looking at the documents right now. She cashed out equity I didn't know he had. Do you see any documentation about where that money went? Deposit slips, wire transfers, anything? I rifled through the file. Found a single page, stapled to the back. Wire transfer confirmation. $130,000. Sent to an account at a different bank. Account holder. Page Holt. She sent it to a personal account. I said, my voice flat. Did you know about this account? No. Barrett, that's fraud. She forged your signature or misrepresented the loan purpose. Either way, that's criminal. Richard's voice was hard now, lawyer mode fully engaged. Don't touch those documents. Photograph every page, send them to me and Diane, and start looking for any other accounts, credit cards, anything in her name you don't know about. I spent the next 2 hours digging. Found 3 credit cards I'd never seen, all maxed out. Total debt, $67,000. Found bank statements from a mystery account showing withdrawals to Jason Vance. Cash gifts, $12,000 here, $8,000 there. By evening, I had a complete picture. Paige had stolen $130,000 from our home equity, run up $67,000 in secret debt, and given at least $30,000 of it to her lover. She'd systematically looted our marriage while smiling to my face. The anger I'd been holding back finally surfaced, but it wasn't hot or wild. It was cold, precise, the kind of anger that builds plans instead of burning bridges. I opened my laptop and started a spreadsheet. Every dollar she'd stolen, every lie she'd told, every piece of evidence I had. By midnight, I had a case file that would make a prosecutor jealous. Paige came home at 1:30, stumbling slightly, smelling like wine and men's cologne. She didn't notice me sitting in the dark living room as she kicked off her heels and headed upstairs. I sat there for another hour, watching the spreadsheet glow in the darkness. She thought I was weak, thought I'd never figure it out, thought paper meant nothing. She was about to learn exactly how much paper could cost her. Diane Porter's office smelled like old books and expensive coffee. She was 50-something, sharp-eyed, wearing a blazer that probably cost more than my monthly car payment. Richard had called her the best forensic accountant in Virginia. Looking at her wall of credentials, I believed him. Mr. Holt, she said, gesturing to a chair. Richard sent me your documentation. I've reviewed everything. Let me be direct. Your wife has committed multiple forms of financial fraud. The refinancing alone is criminal. Can we prove it? Easily. She forged your signature on the loan modification documents. I compared them to your actual signature on earlier paperwork. Not even close. She also misrepresented the loan purpose to the bank. That's bank fraud. Diane pulled up documents on her computer. But it gets worse. Those secret credit cards? She opened them using your income information to qualify. Technically identity theft. And the transfers to Jason Vance? If those came from the refinanced equity, that's conversion of marital assets. How much total are we talking about? She consulted her notes. Stolen from the refinance, $130. Secret credit card debt, $67. Cash withdrawals, $43. Direct transfers to Vance, $32. Total? $272,000 she's either stolen, hidden, or given away. The number hit me like a punch. Nearly $300,000. What's my move? I asked. Legally, file for divorce immediately, claim fraud and adultery. Request a forensic examination of all accounts. File a police report for the forged signature. Freeze joint accounts so she can't move more money. Diane leaned forward. But here's what I'd do if I were you. Disappear first. What do you mean? You have evidence. She doesn't know you have evidence. Right now, you hold every card. If you file first, she gets defensive, hires lawyers, starts hiding things. But if you vanish, take control of accessible funds, and file papers after you're protected, she wakes up to an empty house and frozen accounts. I thought about that. The coldness of it. The strategy. How fast can this happen? Richard can file papers today. They get served whenever you want. You could be gone tonight. That evening, I packed methodically. Not everything, just essentials. Clothes, documents, laptop, the external drive with all the evidence. My father's watch. The photo album from before everything went wrong. I worked in silence, each item a decision point. Paige was at another empowerment workshop. Wouldn't be home until late. Perfect. I opened a new bank account that afternoon, transferred half our accessible savings, redirected my paycheck, called my boss, told him I needed to work remotely for a while. Family emergency. He didn't question it. At 8:30, I loaded my car. Took one last look at the house we'd bought together 12 years ago. The life we built. Or rather, the life I'd built while she'd systematically demolished it. I wrote a note. Simple. Direct. Left it on the kitchen counter where she'd find it. I know about Jason. I know about the money. I know everything. Don't try to contact me. My lawyer will be in touch. Ask your friends to cover your bills now. No emotion. No accusations. Just facts. I drove to her extended stay hotel 40 minutes away, checked in under my name, paid cash for the first week. By the time Paige got home and found the note, I'd be unreachable. My phone started ringing at 10:47 p.m. Paige. I declined the call. It rang again. Again. 15 times in 20 minutes. Then text started. Where are you? Barrett, this is crazy. We need to talk. You're overreacting. Please come home. I blocked her number. Then the calls came from unknown numbers. I stopped answering entirely. At midnight, Richard texted. Papers filed. She'll be served tomorrow at noon. You good? I'm good. I replied. For the first time in months, that wasn't a lie. The process server found Paige at her studio Friday at noon. She was filming content for her social media, talking about releasing toxic masculine energy when he handed her the divorce papers. I know because Tom was there documenting it. He sent me a photo. Her face, shock turning to rage, papers crumpled in her hand. Caption, she knows. My phone exploded after that. Not from Paige. I blocked her everywhere. But from her friends, her family, people I hadn't heard from in years. Her sister texted. How could you abandon her like this? Her mother called from 3 different numbers. Her life coaching friends sent messages about my wounded masculine and fear of powerful women. I ignored all of it. Let them think whatever they wanted. They didn't know about Jason, the forged signatures, the $250,000 in theft. And I wasn't going to explain myself to people who'd already chosen sides. Monday morning, Richard called. She hired an attorney, Gerald Vance. Any relation to Jason? Cousin. And he's aggressive, goes for the throat. But he's got nothing to work with. We have evidence of adultery, fraud, and financial misconduct. He's going to try to flip this, make you the villain. Let him try. That afternoon, Paige's lawyer sent a counterfiling. Reading it felt surreal. I was controlling, financially abusive, emotionally distant. I'd isolated her from friends, monitored her movements, restricted her access to money. The papers painted me as a monster and her as a victim escaping abuse. It's standard, Richard said when I called him, furious. They've got no defense, so they attack. Don't take it personally. She forged my signature and stole $130,000, and I'm the abuser. On paper, for now. But we're filing a response with evidence. Bank records, investigator reports, forensic analysis. Everything. Judge will see through it. 2 weeks later, we had a preliminary hearing. I sat across from Paige in the courthouse hallway, 15 feet apart, not making eye contact. She looked smaller somehow, her confidence dimmed. Her lawyer whispered to her constantly. Inside, the judge reviewed our filings. Middle-aged woman, no-nonsense expression, reading glasses perched on her nose. Mr. Vance, she said to Paige's lawyer, your client claims financial abuse, but I'm seeing bank records showing she withdrew $43,000 without her husband's knowledge and opened credit cards he wasn't aware of. Can you explain that? Gerald Vance stood. Your Honor, Mrs. Holt was forced to take those actions because her husband restricted her access to marital funds. Richard stood immediately. Your Honor, we have evidence that Mr. Holt's income was deposited into joint accounts that Mrs. Holt had full access to. She wasn't restricted. She was stealing. The judge looked at Paige. Mrs. Holt, did you forge your husband's signature on refinancing documents? Paige's face went pale. He knew about the refinance. That's not what I asked. Did you sign his name? Silence. Mrs. Holt, I'm ordering a full forensic audit of all marital accounts. If fraud is discovered, I'm referring this to the prosecutor's office. The judge closed the file. We'll reconvene in 30 days. Until then, all joint accounts are frozen. Outside the courtroom, Paige tried to approach me. Her lawyer held her back. Barrett, please, she called out. We can fix this. I looked at her for the first time since I'd left. Saw not the woman I'd married, but a stranger who'd worn her face while robbing me blind. There's nothing to fix, I said quietly. You made your choices. I walked away, Richard beside me, leaving her standing in the hallway with her lawyer and her lies and the consequences she'd spent years building. 3 weeks after the preliminary hearing, Richard called with news I wasn't expecting. Barrett, the forensic audit came back. You need to see this. His voice was tight, controlled. Never a good sign. I met him in his office that afternoon. He had documents spread across his conference table like evidence at a crime scene. The refinance fraud is confirmed, he said. Forged signature. Misrepresentation to the lender. But there's more. Much more. He pushed a document toward me. Medical billing statement from a clinic in Alexandria. Date: 2 years ago. Patient: Paige Holt. Procedure: elective termination of pregnancy. My hands went cold. She was pregnant 2 years ago. 8 weeks. She terminated without telling you. Richard's voice softened. Barrett, I'm sorry. But there's context you need to understand. He showed me more documents. Text message records recovered through legal discovery. Paige and Jason have been seeing each other for 3 years, not months. The timeline meant the pregnancy could have been his. She didn't know whose it was, I said quietly, understanding flooding in. So, she just ended it. Appears that way. And she charged it to a credit card you didn't know about, took a cash withdrawal the same day for the procedure, claimed she was at a wellness retreat. Richard paused. This establishes a pattern of deception going back years. I sat there, staring at the documents. 2 years ago, I've been planning a surprise anniversary trip to Italy. I've been saving for months, excited to celebrate 15 years together. And she'd been pregnant, possibly with another man's child, and handled it like a business transaction. What else? I asked because at this point, I knew there had to be more. Richard hesitated. Jason Vance isn't the only one. The investigator found evidence of at least 2 other men over the past 3 years. A personal trainer named Kyle. Someone named Brad from her life coaching network. He showed me photos. Paige with different men at different times. Hotel check-ins. Restaurant receipts. A systematic pattern of affairs, each one funded with money she'd stolen from our marriage. How much did she spend on all of them? Combined? Over $48,000. Gifts, trips, hotel rooms. She was essentially maintaining multiple relationships simultaneously. I thought about all the nights she'd come home late, all the workshops and retreats, all the times she'd looked me in the eye and lied. Not just lying about one affair. Multiple affairs. Multiple men. Years of deception. Does her lawyer know about this? I asked. Not yet. We're saving it for the next hearing. Let them keep claiming she's the victim. Richard's expression hardened. When the judge sees this, along with the abortion without your knowledge and the financial theft, Paige won't just lose the divorce case. She'll be facing criminal charges. That night, I sat in my hotel room, looking at our wedding photo on my phone. Young, hopeful, in love. Or at least I'd been in love. Now I wondered if she'd ever been. Or if I'd just been a convenient provider while she lived a completely separate life. My phone buzzed. Email from Diane Porter, the forensic accountant. Subject: additional findings. I opened it. She found another bank account, this one opened 6 years ago. Paige had been siphoning money into it the entire time. Current balance: $87,000. 6 years. She'd been planning an exit strategy for 6 years, while I'd been working to build our future. I forwarded the email to Richard with a note. Add it to the pile. His response came fast. This keeps getting worse. She's not just a cheater. She's a con artist. The second hearing was 4 weeks later. I walked into the courtroom, expecting another procedural session. What I got was a complete dismantling of everything Paige had built. Richard started by submitting the forensic audit. Every account, every transaction, every lie documented in excruciating detail. The judge, The same no-nonsense woman from before. Read through it silently. Her expression grew darker with each page. "Mrs. Holt," she said finally, "you forged your husband's signature on mortgage documents, opened secret credit cards using his income, and siphoned over $87,000 into a hidden account. Is this correct?" Page's lawyer stood. "Your Honor, my client was protecting herself from financial abuse by committing bank fraud." The judge's voice was sharp. "Mr. Vance, I've reviewed the evidence. There's no indication of financial abuse. Mrs. Holt had full access to all marital accounts. She chose to steal." Richard stood. "Your Honor, there's more. We've discovered Mrs. Holt underwent an abortion 2 years ago without Mr. Holt's knowledge, charged it to secret accounts, and lied about her whereabouts." The courtroom went silent. Page's face went white. "Additionally," Richard continued, "we have evidence of multiple extramarital affairs spanning 3 years, all funded with marital assets. Total expenditure on affairs, $48,000. He submitted investigator reports, photos, credit card statements. The judge reviewed them methodically. When she looked up, her expression was ice. "Mrs. Holt, I'm referring this case to the prosecutor's office for potential criminal charges. Bank fraud, identity theft, and forgery are serious crimes." She turned to Richard. "Mr. Holt is granted immediate full control of all marital assets pending final divorce decree. Mrs. Holt will receive nothing until this is resolved." Page stood suddenly. "You can't do this. I have rights." "You have the right to remain silent," the judge said coldly. "I suggest you exercise it. We're done here." Outside the courtroom, Page tried to approach me. Her lawyer pulled her back, but she broke free. "Bear it, please. I made mistakes, but you're destroying my life." I looked at her, really looked at her. Saw not the woman I'd married, but someone I'd never actually known. "I'm not destroying your life, Paige. I'm just refusing to fund it anymore." I turned to Richard. "Let's go." As we walked away, I heard her sobbing. Part of me wanted to feel guilty, but that part had died somewhere between discovering the forged signatures and learning about the abortion she'd hidden for 2 years. A week later, the prosecutor's office filed charges. 3 counts of forgery, 2 counts of bank fraud, 1 count of identity theft. Page's bail was set at $50,000. She had to ask her mother to post it. Her life coaching business collapsed overnight. Former clients posted about feeling betrayed, about her preaching authenticity while living a complete lie. Her social media following disappeared. The speaking engagements dried up. Jason Vance stopped returning her calls once he realized she was broke and facing criminal charges. So did Kyle and Brad. Turns out being a powerful, authentic woman is easier when you have someone else's money funding the lifestyle. 2 months later, the divorce was finalized. I got the house, my retirement accounts, and my self-respect. She got community service, 3 years probation, and in order to pay back the money she'd stolen. Her lawyer tried to negotiate alimony. The judge laughed. Actually laughed. "Your client committed multiple felonies against her husband, and you want him to pay her monthly?" Motion denied. Final decree. No alimony, no property, no contact. Clean break. Standing outside the courthouse, Richard shook my hand. "You did the right thing. Not the easy thing, but the right thing." I nodded, feeling lighter than I had in years. The marriage was over. The woman I'd loved was gone. But I'd survived. More than survived, I'd won. Not because I destroyed her, but because I'd refused to be destroyed. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, I sat in a courtroom again. Not for my case this time, but as a witness for the prosecution. Page's criminal trial had finally arrived. The prosecutor, a sharp woman named Jennifer Walsh, had built an airtight case. Bank fraud, forgery, identity theft. 3 felony counts with evidence so overwhelming that Page's public defender had tried multiple times to negotiate a plea deal. She'd refused every offer. Still believed she could talk her way out of it. "Mr. Holt," Jennifer said when I took the stand, "can you identify your signature on this mortgage refinancing document?" I looked at the paperwork projected on the screen. "That's not my signature. It's similar, but the loops are wrong. The pressure's different. And this document authorized a cash-out refinance of $130,000, correct?" "Yes." "Did you sign it?" "No. I didn't even know about it until months later." Jennifer walked me through the evidence methodically. The forged signatures, the secret accounts, the money transfers to Jason Vance. Every answer I gave was backed by documentation, expert testimony, forensic analysis. Page's lawyer tried to paint me as vindictive, claimed I was exaggerating to hurt his client. But the handwriting expert's testimony destroyed that defense. The forgery was obvious, undeniable. After 2 days of testimony, the jury deliberated for 3 hours. Guilty on all counts. Sentencing came 2 weeks later. I didn't attend, but Richard called me afterward. 18 months in prison, 3 years probation, restitution of $272,000. He paused. She's appealing, but it won't go anywhere. The evidence is too solid. How's she handling it? According to her lawyer, not well. Her life coaching career is dead. Her reputation destroyed. Jason stopped talking to her months ago. She's living with her mother, working retail to pay for the appeal lawyer. I felt no satisfaction hearing that. No victory. Just a profound sadness for how completely she destroyed herself chasing something that was never real. Barrett, Richard said, you did everything right. You documented. You stayed calm. You let the system work. Not many men have the strength to do that. After I hung up, I sat in my new apartment, looking out at the city. I'd sold the house. Couldn't live there anymore with all those memories. Bought a condo downtown, closer to work, fresh start. My phone buzzed. Email from Page's mother, Patricia. We'd only met a handful of times over the years. The subject line read, I'm sorry. I opened it hesitantly. Barrett, I know you have no reason to listen to anything from our family, but I needed to say this. I'm sorry for what my daughter did to you. I raised her better than that. Or at least I thought I did. When she told me her version of events, I believed her. Mothers want to believe their children. But after seeing the evidence in court, I know the truth. She betrayed you in every way possible, and then tried to destroy you when you stood up for yourself. You didn't deserve any of it. I hope you find happiness in someone who treats you with the respect you always showed her, even when she didn't deserve it. Patricia. I read it twice, then replied simply, thank you. That means more than you know. Some bridges couldn't be rebuilt. Some damage was permanent. But acknowledgement, even late, still mattered. That evening, I met Richard and Tom Bradshaw for dinner. The investigator had become a friend through all this, same as Richard had been since college. To survival, Richard said, raising his glass. To evidence, Tom added with a slight smile. To moving forward, I said. We drank, and for the first time in a year, I felt like I could breathe again. 14 months after I'd walked out of that house, I stood in the parking lot of Hartfield Solutions, looking at a company memo on my phone. Regional Director of Operations, Eastern Division. The promotion I'd been working toward for 5 years. My boss, Gerald, had called me into his office that morning. Barrett, you've been through hell this past year. Most guys would have fallen apart, let their performance slip. But you got better, more focused. That takes character. Congratulations. The raise was substantial, enough to erase any financial damage Page had done, and then some. But more than that, it was validation. Proof that while she'd been tearing down our life, I'd been building something real. I called Richard with the news. That's outstanding, Barrett. You earned it. He paused. By the way, Page's appeal was denied yesterday. The conviction stands. She's reporting to prison next month. How long will she actually serve? With good behavior? Probably 12 months. Then probation and restitution payments for years. Richard's voice softened. It's over, Barrett. Really over. You can close this chapter. That weekend, I drove to the mountains. Took 2 days off, rented a cabin, spent time alone with my thoughts. No phone calls, no emails, just silence and perspective. I thought about the man I'd been 2 years ago. Blind, trusting, working himself to exhaustion for a woman who saw him as an ATM with a signature she could forge. That man was gone, replaced by someone harder, but wiser. I didn't regret the hardness. It had kept me alive through the worst year of my life. Sunday evening, hiking back to the cabin, I ran into another hiker coming down the trail. Woman about my age, dark hair pulled back, wearing practical gear that had actually seen use. Trail's beautiful up there, she said, pausing. First time here. Yeah, needed to clear my head. Best place for it. She smiled, adjusted her backpack. I'm Lauren, by the way. Barrett. We talked for 10 minutes, Just casual conversation about trails and weather and the best spots to catch the sunset. When we parted ways, she said, "Maybe I'll see you around. Maybe you will." I didn't get her number, didn't ask for it. But walking back to the cabin, I realized something important. I wasn't broken. Paige had tried to break me. The divorce had tried to break me. But I'd survived intact. 3 months later, I ran into Lauren again at a coffee shop near my office. Coincidence or fate? I didn't know. This time, I asked for her number. She was a civil engineer, worked for a firm 2 blocks from Hartfield. Divorced herself 3 years ago. No drama. Just grew apart from her ex and handled it maturely. We dated slowly. No rush, no pressure. She understood that I'd been through something traumatic, didn't push for details. When I finally told her the full story, she listened without judgment. "You handled it right," she said simply. "Legally, methodically. A lot of people would have just burned everything down." I thought about it, I admitted. "But you didn't. That's what matters." 8 months later, standing in my condo, I packed up the last box of divorce paperwork. Court documents, investigator reports, evidence files. Everything that had consumed my life for over a year. I sealed the box and wrote on it, "Closed chapter." Put it in the storage unit in the basement. Not thrown away because I might need it someday, but archived. No longer part of my daily reality. That evening, Lauren came over. We cooked dinner together, something simple. Talked about her project at work, my upcoming business trip to Chicago. Normal conversation, normal life. No lies. No hidden accounts. No wondering where she really was or who she was really with. Just honesty, respect, partnership. Later, sitting on the balcony watching the sunset, she said, "You seem different than when we first met." Different how? Lighter. Like you finally put something heavy down. I thought about that. About Paige in prison, about the divorce decree, about the criminal conviction, about all the evidence and anger and pain I'd carried for so long. "Yeah," I said. "I guess I did." She took my hand, and we sat in comfortable silence as the sun disappeared behind the buildings. Tomorrow, I'd wake up and go to work. Build my career. Plan my future. Lie my life. Without lies. Without betrayal. Without someone systematically destroying everything I built. Paige thought paper meant nothing. Turned out she was wrong. The paper that dissolved our marriage, the paper that convicted her of fraud, the paper that gave me back my life, that paper meant everything. And now, finally, I was free to write a new story. One where I wasn't the victim, wasn't the fool, wasn't the man who ignored the signs. I was just Bear Holt, 45 years old, regional director, survivor. And for the first time in years, that was enough.